Amazing. I want to welcome everybody and thank you everybody for coming. We had hoped that a little more people would, but we still think this is a valuable conversation to have. We are recording and we're going to post it to our website so people can see the questions. I will be the moderator, I guess, if you want to call me that, for the evening. But I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves. We'll just start this in and then go down. So, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Audrey Jantz. I'm actually a member of Pleasant Range, but also a former elementary school counselor, still in the classroom as a teacher, but I'm here today on behalf of Comment as a community trainer. So,
good evening, everyone. I'm Mallory Jacobs, and I'm a neighboring friend of yours from Holton, Kansas. And I'm also an elementary school counselor in Topeka, and I also work for the Department of Education in Kansas and Topeka as well. So thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Tim Bacon. I'm the Jefferson County Sheriff. I took over back at the beginning of June. I've been in the county or in law enforcement since 2010.
I'm Kelly Chess. I'm a 911 dispatcher here in Jefferson County, and I've been there almost 19 years.
And I'm Luke Wagner. I'm from Perry. I've been the mental health liaison for the district the last 2 years. I also pastor locally, and I'm here with Axis Institute, which is a behavior management program that we teach to teachers, as well as parents, caregivers, all across the U.S., even over in Europe. It's pretty global.
Again, thank you guys for coming. We have some questions that we have compiled before, and anybody in the audience is welcome to just raise your hand and you can ask the panelists, whether it's the whole panel or a specific panelist question. So we'll just start off. Anybody can jump in. I don't know the best way. So what does mental health look like in a rural community? Just to start off, like, what would your guys' take be?
I'll start by saying the look of this room right now is what mental health in a rural community looks like, because there's so much stigma still attached to it, and being in a small community, a lot of people know each other, and I think that may be why some people won't show up, possibly, because, you know, everyone kind of knows each other. So, but there's also the upside of that too, where you also have a small community that backs you up when something goes down.
I would say it's present, but hidden. Because most of my calls, my guys and I go on, there's mental health issues, but they're very much hidden from the public and sometimes resistant to help.
Okay. I guess you guys already answered the why is mental health so difficult to talk about in small towns. I think Kelly hit it on the head of it's the stigma. So answer that one. How has social media affected mental health for young?
Well, I'll take this one. I'm not an elementary counselor. I think it also depends on your perspective with anything, no matter what your age is. Working as a counselor, you know, people see the word counselor and they come in and share their deepest, darkest secrets, which a part of me is very happy, but a part of me is also like, I'm an elementary counselor. Like, so it's all about your perspective. So how you use social media can be a wonderful thing. There are so many great things about social media, but then it's when people aren't paying attention, when parents aren't paying attention of what their kids can get into. And I know law enforcement can talk about that probably a little bit more in the dark web, if you will. But I think it's about your perspective too and how it's being used.
I would say from the middle school perspective, like the kids, they love TikTok right now and all of that stuff, and they make their videos and they do all of that stuff. And I don't make the videos, I like to watch the different videos, but in the TikTok world, even if you're not friends with somebody, you can see different videos on your feed, and there are students that I have in my classroom that I'm seeing videos come up about their concerns of their mental health, and where do I draw that line? Like, where is that line, and where do I go to when I ask them in class about that because I care about their safety? They're comfortable speaking about it. They know that I'm seeing it. They follow me, I don't follow them. And they know that that conversation is probably going to be had at some point, and I think that sometimes is why they post those, because they know that I'm going to see it, and I am a comfortable person for them. So again, it's being used in a good way, and I'm thankful that I do see those things for them and have conversations, and drawing in our school resource officer or local law enforcement if we need to on those situations, especially when I'm seeing them right now over the summer. So.
I'd piggyback on that too, because I see that a lot, and I think it's different with middle school, high school students than you see with the elementary school students. I think it's a way of freedom and control and expression for them. And like Audrey said, a lot of times that's where they're going to put out those secrets, the things that they're feeling, that they're wrestling with, that they want someone to know, but maybe they don't have the courage, they don't have the strength yet to go to someone and say, hey, this is something I'm wrestling with. And so there have been, and my role in the school has been a little different than Audrey's. We worked together over the last 2 years, where sometimes those kids have come in and they've talked about it, and I've had probably more of an opportunity than Audrey does in a classroom, in an office setting, to start those conversations with them and say, hey, I've heard about this, what's going on? Kind of break down that barrier, open up that door, and have that conversation. But I get it too, like as a parent, because I have a almost 70-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 18-year-old. And so I get to see social media across the spectrum. And where my 2 youngest, they want to play Minecraft and Roblox. And my oldest is on TikTok and Snapchat. And just seeing the difference and finding the balance as a parent of how to manage that and how to monitor it while still allowing them the freedom to have some independence and grow and learn can be really challenging. And I think that's something every parent faces and every parent wrestles with is where's that line? And when do you draw a harder line and say, okay, here's the boundary, no farther than that. We got to pull back some of that freedom. It can be really, really challenging. But I think, too, when you think back, we're probably all close to the same age. When we were growing up, like social media was very different back in the days of MySpace and stuff like that, right? Social media has changed so much of what you can do with it and the impact it has and how it doesn't go away. And a lot of the kids still don't seem to grasp that and understand that what you put out there, it's going to follow you. What you allow people to have of you through that doesn't just go away. And that can be really tough and have some really long-lasting implications.
Because say from a law enforcement perspective, it's dangerous because everyone has that perception of what they see on Facebook or MySpace or TikTok, wherever it is, not MySpace. It's real. And it's one of those things where they think that's really somebody's life, but they don't see the behind the scenes. So it's like a fake perceived environment because you only see what you want to see, right? And there's a lot of bad things that happen on the social media front that impacts my world because it's very dangerous to cross that line. And then with social media, we may not ever be able to find the person who victimized somebody. So it's a very dangerous, touchy situation where parents need to be on top of watching what their kids are doing and monitoring and speaking to them about the dangers of it. Like the DARE program not so much focuses on drugs anymore. It focuses on updating about social media and things like that is what our officers are trying to teach. It still touches those, but it also hits those emotional and dangers of the modern world.
I think that's great too. And one of the questions that was on here is like, what does mental health look like in our youth today? And it does look a lot different. It just depends. Like I'm seeing a lot of like body shaming, and that's mental health right there. Like they're shaming their own bodies, and that's something that I want to stop now when they're 12, 13, 14 years old, because they don't need to live a whole adult life with that. Enjoy your childhood now, and that's something I'm seeing huge right now in middle school. It's not always wanting to harm themselves, but they're just wanting to be better for themselves. But they're just misunderstanding what that looks like for their growing and changing 12-year-old pubescent body. So.
Or they think it's fun to jump on the TikTok challenge, rate this crazy event that someone on TikTok kicked up, and all of a sudden schools are having all kinds of issues because kids are kicking in doors or ding-dong bitching in the middle of the night or all kinds of things, and video of themselves doing it. I love it because I have evidence that we did it, but at the same sense, it's hard in that environment, the kids have to be aware of it.
So then it
Yeah.
always goes back to perspective, right? And then as a parent, you have to learn, you have to teach your kids how to walk, how to eat, how to be a little human. And then as they get older, you have to teach them about social media. And if you don't know about it, find somebody that does. And that's why it's so important to have mental health in the schools. That's important to take advantage of different resources that you have, because the knowledge is out there. You just have to be brave enough to ask or come to things like this. So I want to applaud all of you for doing that too.
I'm gonna bring up one thing about, like, teens and, mental health a lot and social media. Raising two daughters, we went through a lot of online bullying. And I know that the schools can only get so involved. And then you kind of expect the parents of those kids to step up and, hope that they can only teach, as you do, or parent similar, or teach the same lessons, I guess. Which is common decency, right? It shouldn't be that freaking hard, but I did notice that a lot of mental health with the online bullying is an issue, and then I feel like too many parents aren't putting in the effort to be more connected with their kids, and so the kids are finding connection online, and it just causes a really huge divide between the kids and the parents, I think. That if parents and kids were to, and instead of focusing on the likes, focus on connecting with each other, type thing. But yeah, online bullying is bad. It's bad, don't do it.
So that kind of can bring me into the next question of like, what signs should parents, teachers, coaches, or community members watch for when a young person may be struggling? Whether it's the social media and online bullying, or just in general.
I think change in attitude. If you generally have a kid that's pretty happy-go-lucky, and then all of a sudden they're down and out, and whatever, that's a clear sign for me.
Yeah, their demeanor. If they're, like she said, if they're normally their personality is this way and you see a drastic shift, it's probably a pretty clear indicator something's going on. Changes in friendships, changes in interests, hobbies, that type of stuff.
Hygiene.
Yep, hygiene's a big one too.
I was gonna say physical, like they've lost a lot of weight, if they've gained a lot of weight. And often kids don't tell us what's going on, they show us. So really have those eyes open, maybe sometimes put down your phone, like you were kind of mentioning, and having that connected, that intentional time with students and kids.
From a coach's standpoint, I coach middle school volleyball, and they get to pick their partner when they warm up and stuff like that. And if they're consistently picking the same person and then they start picking somebody else, that's a warning sign for me to kind of see what else is going on. Sometimes it's something, sometimes it's nothing. It just kind of depends. But in the coaching standpoint, it's the same, as parents as coaches. But even when you're coaching little rec league ball, you're going to see those types of things too. People have their friends, and if they all of a sudden start playing catch or volleying back and forth with somebody else, that is a chance to have a conversation with one of them, because you don't know where the root of the problem or concern is. Have a conversation with one or both of them separately to talk about, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and sometimes it is just nothing, but more often than not, it is something.
And I think saying something, right? When you see something, say something. You'd rather have it not be something and you ask than have it, you think about it at midnight when you're like, oh, I should have said something.
Kind of circle back to the stigma and awareness. What are some of the common misconceptions about mental health that you guys have noticed?
That you're alone.
You're weak. Can't handle it.
Something something going on, but like, oh, I don't want to be with them because something's wrong with them, like that negative connotation of wrong.
I also think that maybe sometimes they don't want people to overreact. So if I tell them, like, I don't want a whole bunch of police and ambulance showing up, like, I just want to talk to someone, you know, type thing too.
And I think flexibility. One day you can have an amazing day. The next day you can have a pretty darn hard day.
Change by
And that can change. Right? So I think the flexibility of it too. So your point.
And I'm perimenopausal.
And it's July heat. It can change.
3 seconds.
Very good.
I think sometimes too, depending on your relation to, especially youth, are they just trying to get attention? And so I've had to do a lot of that, like trying to figure out like, what is true from this, what is them just because they need somebody to just listen to them, and just trying to do that, and that's really hard. What is the truth and what is the facts, and trying to still listen and be there for them, even though they're habitual, come to your door and talk about different things. So that's a hard one too.
And I think with that too, that's behavior. So they're missing something. So we have to figure out what that is with the attention piece. What else is going on?
I think one of the things that I've noticed, and it's maybe the other end of the pendulum in a way, is that for some it can become the identity that they latch onto. And that becomes who they are, and they see themselves as never being able to grow, never being able to change, never being able to improve and become a better person despite the struggle they might be dealing with. And I know that's something that really pulls at my heart because I see it a lot, both with kids and adults in the different capacities that I work in, and helping people see that your struggle is not your identity. That's not who you are as a person. And there's people out there to help you walk through that. I think is really important too.
So from a different angle, I see is sometimes the parents have a stigma towards it. Like when they call and law enforcement gets on the scene to help talk to them about something, or we're dealing with an underlying issue of kids acting out, parents call, they want cops to come calm the situation down. We get there, we're talking to the kid one-on-one, and they're saying, I've tried to talk to my parents because I need X, Y, Z, and the parents aren't listening. So it's kind of goes back to that stigma of sometimes we as parents need to step back and listen to what our kids are saying and not just look at the behavior.
Absolutely.
Or understand why the behavior is happening. Because most of the time when we have the conversation with the parents, if the parents listen to us, we can help solve a problem and not deal with maybe a criminal issue, but we can solve it in a better way so we can just move forward.
I think we have a generational gap amongst the understanding of mental health and the stigma around that. We have a whole generation that just doesn't acknowledge it, doesn't agree with it, doesn't believe in it, and that's been really hard to like shift those mindsets. And by doing these types of things, that helps. If we do this again, maybe we have 15 more people and they go against different age ranges and stuff. And I think that closing that generational gap is really going to help, especially in small towns and school communities and things like that.
So how can community members help to reduce that stigma surrounding therapy addiction and asking for help?
Things like this.
Starting the conversation. Finding the time, the words, the approach, and see what happens.
It never hurts to ask. If you feel that somebody in your life is off, is struggling, something's going on, it never hurts to ask them. If you ask them, it doesn't mean you're going to put that thought into their mind. If you have someone close to you and you just notice that change, it's not even just kids, it's adults. Your friends, your family, if something is going on, ask them. Just be like, how is your mental health? How are you feeling? And if they say, I'm fine, and they're not usually fine, hey, tell me more about that. And just being willing to ask the questions.
I will say, as someone who suffers from compassion fatigue and burnout, I would also like to talk about the other side of that, because Oh, no. Yeah. My mind went so blank. Carry on. Carry on.
It's okay.
It was a fun
Maybe we'll
walk.
I think too, you know, also being from a smaller town, growing up in a small town, but then growing up and traveling and seeing things, having an open mind and not lead with judgment. There are many people out there that say, oh, you're a small town, you're a gossiper, you're this, you're that. Well, we have a lot of things to talk about. Coffee, okay? But I think just choosing that compassion too, and knowing that literally everybody you come in contact with has a story.
I remember what I was gonna say.
There you go. Take it off.
Thank you.
There you go. There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah. Nope, lost again. Okay. We're gonna keep going.
So I also, in all my free time, work at the local grocery store in Holton at Cecil K's. Love to scan things. Love to scan things. Love to talk. Love to press a little buttons. It's so fun. But I also believe in having that connection, just the 3 minutes that people are there. How's your day? How'd the day treat you? Oh, it was terrible. Talk to me about that. What? Like I genuinely care. So just having that open mind and that compassion in every connection that you have, every path. And yes, it takes time. Yes, the compassion fatigue rolls in because then when I get home, I'm like, I do not want to talk to anyone. And I get that. But just having the shoulder and the ear, we all have those, so use them. And I think also being brave with yourself too. I see a counselor and I'm a counselor. You think counselors have it together? We do. But counselors also need counseling. We need help too. We gotta talk about y'all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But
It's nice to have the info, but it's nothing if you don't apply it.
exactly, you gotta
You gotta
practice
apply it.
what you preach.
Yeah.
Did that help you out?
Well, I remembered, it's just the fact that when you, like a 911 dispatcher, law enforcement, where you suffer from burnout and compassion, fatigue, that you are filled yourself, you know, and sometimes you don't have the capacity to take on your friends or family who have other things going on or going through their own mental, crisis or whatever, mental health crisis. So sometimes I have found it personally hard to make space for someone, knowing that if they say yes, I've been thinking about killing myself. Like, I literally just wanted to make some dinner and like have a few drinks and go to bed. You know what I'm saying? But when those people, when they're there, you really have to show up no matter what.
I think
Just
in
like
that,
I do every day at work, and he does, and we all do.
I think in that situation, because I've been in that situation, especially when I was in the counselor role, like I was exhausted, and when somebody in my personal life would come to me with those types of concerns, hey, like I want to give you my full support right now, but I'm not going to be the best version of me because I am also going through some things. Here's some support information, the hotline to call, things like that. Like I want to be there for you today, but you're not going to get the best version of me. So here's where you can go, use it or don't, and then I'm going to check in with you tomorrow because I'm going to be a better version of myself tomorrow too. And that can be scary because you don't know what you're leaving them with, but at least you've given them a resource because you can't solve all of their problems. You can just listen to them, and if you don't have the capacity to listen to them because of your day or your fatigue that day, being able to give them the resources to talk to someone else.
So one thing I've encouraged my officers to do when I took over last month was, when we show up on the scene and we're out on one of those calls, you can tell if somebody wants to talk. Spend an extra 10 minutes just talking. Even if it's about nothing, about why we're there. I've seen the impact of that just in my own career, just that extra time, shoot shit. Just talking back and forth. And sometimes you learn some very valuable things about somebody. And I've seen it where people just become happier, just give them time. And then checking in with ourselves, because in the law enforcement world, we see horrible things every day. And then we check back in with ourselves and with our officers saying, hey, are you guys good? Because even the last month, there's been a roller coaster ride of all different kinds of things in this county. We've checked in with each other. make sure we're good and there's resources if we need it, so.
And I like what you said with, talking to them, take that extra time. It's all about the connection, the relationship. Maybe they just needed somebody to talk to. You probably feel like a counselor sometimes going in. Yeah.
That is something as a 911 dispatcher, like a first party suicidal caller is the very first thing you want to do is build that rapport and make it to where they can, start trusting you and what else,
So I couldn't do your job sitting behind a headset trying to.
Not being able to
and not
do
be able to
anything.
see anything. My wife tells me I'm a fixer, so it's like one of those things I like to win helping, so I can do it.
I just talk. There's so many people that call with mental health problems from Valley Falls, the mental health clinic there. And they'll just call just to talk because they get so lonely or they're scared. Or we have some that see things and we talk them off the ledge. Most of the time officers don't even know that we deal with calls like that because we don't even dispatch it. Because by the time we hang up, they're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I'm gonna go watch some Terminator. That's a great idea, all right. And you're like, yeah, those are like nursing home kind of stuff. But.
I think that's huge, what Tim and Kelly were talking about. We see it a lot in really big communities, Overland Park and Olathe even. They have mental health liaisons that work and are trained through the local police departments, and they go out on a lot of those calls. And of course, they have a lot more resources than we do to facilitate something like that, but I think that would be huge to have a Jefferson County-based mental health group that is trained both in the mental health side of things, but also in the law enforcement side of things. But they're not showing up in uniform. They're showing up in a shirt that says mental health, and stuff like that. And just being able to get something like that in this county, I think would be huge. I know personally, I think that'd be a job that I would really, really enjoy and would definitely be interested in if that came about. And just being able to have that here and to take some of that stress off, the officers and stuff that don't have that training, but somebody else is getting dispatched to that call with them to have that conversation. So if there is an immediate threat, that's what the officers are handling. But if there's a mental health crisis, that's what the liaison is doing. I think that's something that would be really awesome that a bunch of big communities have that we don't have here. I don't know if it comes down to money. I don't know, what all that stuff comes down to. But
Okay, I'm gonna pause here with my questions. Does anybody from the audience have a question that they would like to ask the panelists? Back to my questions, but I thought I'd open up to other people. Okay. What resources, I know we were just kind of talking a little bit, are available locally for individuals and families dealing with addiction? Kind of shifting with the mental health and addiction and substance abuse.
The guidance center, here in Oskaloosa, one resource. The Willow, that they were tonight, are also great resources.
And
988, suicide prevention, you got all your cop to cop and your military, all those phone numbers. As far as local meetups, I'm not too aware. We did have are you guys familiar with Assist? Yeah, they had that here one time too, but maybe doing training classes like that.
This is really good. It's really beneficial.
Yeah, I liked it, it was good info.
I think one of the things, while I don't think our county necessarily might have a ton of resources within our boundaries, I think it is really nice though that you don't have to go very far outside of our county to access a lot of really good resources and have a lot of variety. So while it might take a little extra work on the front end to get there, whether it's Topeka or Lawrence, or even going up north, north, right? There are resources within reach. And one of the things that I've come to notice in working with students and families is a lot of times the issue isn't so much an unwillingness to access, they just don't realize what's there. they don't know what's out there and available. And so helping people understand what the resources are that are out there and where they're at and how to access them, I think is really crucial as well.
That's something, sorry.
No, you're fine.
That's something that I know as Pleasant View Grange and even our State Grange chapter we've been talking about and stuff. And when we're talking like really rural communities that, you know, unincorporated towns, you know, they don't have a population, maybe they don't have internet and things like that. How are they getting those resources? But I think what is beneficial too, we have a lot of conversations about farmers and stuff when we're in the Grange, and being able to do a telehealth appointment is huge too. Because yeah, Lawrence isn't super far, you know, Atchison isn't far for certain communities in this county, and Topeka's not far. But sometimes you're just up against a wall, and when can you get there? You know, it's going to rain for the next 5 days, and I have to get the corn down. And so if I can hop onto a Zoom call for a telehealth or a telemed appointment, that's huge, and that's what we're seeing a lot too. Just being able to benefit from that.
I was gonna mention a lot of times healthcare providers can help with that as well, especially with addiction things. They have different resources that they have available. But if you don't feel like jumping in the car, you can, you know, use social media, you can use the phone in a positive way and say, what is telehealth post to me? What, you know, what does my insurance look like with that? What are my options available? If you're not a person that wants to do it on the phone, maybe you're, you know, one-on-one in a room, they have things like that available too. So it just, again, having that courage and that bravery to ask, especially healthcare providers have great information.
I think that's another thing too, Kelly said, like, there's not a lot here, there's no chats, like, it's hard to do that, like, and just being able to, you know, we have AA meetings, we have NA meetings, like, even in this town, we have those, and just being able to get something consistently scheduled for, just a chat like this, like, less formal, but just, like, maybe nobody comes for the hour that you're there, but you're there 2 times a week to have a conversation if somebody does come in. There's a lot of opportunities to explore.
And just right outside Jefferson County, you brought it up, you have the TRC down in Lawrence right behind Burt Nash and the LMH, and Guidance Center has an emergency inpatient stay facility over Leavenworth that people can go check into for like crisis times. So there are closer resources. And what is it, Ad Asper or whatever it is now, what they bought, whatever they merged it. Yeah.
And the layout, you can also do that same thing.
Yeah. I know they merged whatever.
You got it, you did it.
Okay, I think my final question, and I'll let you guys have any other closing remarks, is what is one message you wish every person in Jefferson County could hear tonight?
Being not from Jefferson County, I'll take it. I think not just Jefferson County, the state of Kansas, the whole world is, it just takes one person. Just takes one person saying, hey, how are you? Whether that be a student, whether that be a child, whether that be a grandparent, a friend. And maybe that's not you, but maybe you're thinking of a situation where somebody's done that for you. It just takes that one caring person, that one caring adult working with kids to be that. And if you don't feel like you have the knowledge or you aren't feeling up to it, ask it and then say, hey, I might not be the best person right now, but these are the things that you can do. So just starting that conversation.
So from my perspective, from a law enforcement, I have a guy on duty 24/7, a guy overall on duty 24/7, so we need to talk to someone in the middle of the night, call. One of us is always available. Come talk to you, talk to the phone, come to your house, talk to you. So it's a resource. We're here, we're not training counselors, but we're available. There's always someone on duty in this county. There's always a deputy or law enforcement officer on duty. And we're always willing to help. We're more than just enforcing crime, we're here to make sure you're safe and give you the resources you need.
For me, for the people that are watching the video, and just you take this back to your family, your friends, when you see things like this happening that you can go to them. We didn't know what to expect tonight, and I've actually really enjoyed the conversation back and forth and everything, and just come to them. I've learned some things tonight that I didn't know coming into this, and support the people that are doing the things, and come ask your questions. And there might be questions that you have out there right now that you don't want to ask. And so afterwards, that's when you go find the one person that you want to ask that specific question to. So I think that's my message, is when you see these things come around in your community, try and go if you can.
I would say that I know when you're in the middle of a crisis, it can seem really dark and lonely, and it's very tempting to pull back, and that's exactly when you need to push forward and reach out. And to several points made, there's always someone. There's always someone. Even when you feel like you don't have anyone, there are resources out there. It's just taking the hardest step, I think, and that's reaching out from the start instead of allowing yourself to just be overcome by it.
My turn. Are you done?
I'm
Okay. I think it's very important that you remain a safe person. If you want to be a helper for people who are going through a mental health crisis, just be honest and be safe and keep sharing and spreading the word, because I know that I have attached to me that I take mental health very serious. I know Bacon does, our sheriff. I'm not too familiar with you guys, but I'm sure it follows you too, right? Like that label kind of attaches to you, and it's like, oh, Kelly, she's safe. And I've had officers come down and talk to me. I've had dispatchers open up to me and things like that. So I think it's just very important to remain safe and authentic and kind. And yeah.
Any questions from the audience? Last chance.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you guys all have your own lives, and I'm sure that you've all had your own mental crises. So what healthy coping strategies have you found most effective after a difficult shift? It's like, you doing counseling and dispatching.
What, did you just say coping mechanisms, or did you add an adjective to that?
Coping strategies.
Just want to make sure she didn't say healthy or specific, right? Something silly,
Yeah, I did say that. What coping strategies?
For me, it's trying to get back into a routine as much as possible. Mental health is different for everyone, and just trying to fall back into something that feels comfortable to you, but is still safe for you, and just following along, even if it's maybe not a routine that you were used to before your crisis, finding something that makes you feel safe in her post-crisis, I think is huge.
For me, you never underestimate the power of prayer.
I was gonna say, I reach out to my friends, and if I don't feel like talking, I crank my music. I have a commute, I drive a lot in my vehicle, so I just crank the tunes. Sometimes you just sit in silence and drive. You're like, what was that day? You cancel yourself.
I know that for me personally, I have a wonderful support husband at home who not only gets the first responder world, but also takes mental health seriously as well. And he has seen me at my best, and he has seen me at my lowest. And so on those hard days, that's who I confide in and who holds me with no words. I think everyone deserves at least someone like that in their lives. And then I also have a great boss who I'm able to talk to about work stress and stuff like that as well.
I would say three things for me. Rest has been huge. Making sure that I take the time to rest and rejuvenate instead of feeling like I have to constantly just go. Allowing myself the opportunity to rest and really just be recharged. Community is huge also for me. I'm just a natural people person, but when I start talking about like our own personal stuff in my department, depression starts to creep up, which has been a lifelong thing that I've had to manage and learn how to manage in my anxiety. When that starts to creep up, my natural tendency, even though I'm a people person, is to pull away and to isolate. And so I have to push into community and make sure that I stay connected, that I don't just hide. And then faith as well. My relationship, that's a huge that's a huge thing for me. And just pressing into that, making time to pray and worship and read scripture and allowing that to build me back up. So
I also use laughter as a tool. I laugh at the most inappropriate things. You can ask my wife. Yeah. And so when I've had hard days, I like to watch Family Guy when I get home from work. So it just makes me laugh, makes fun of everybody. It's perfect. Yeah.
So I don't have a question, I have a resource I want to share. I'm actually the practice manager of our McClough clinic, and we have 2 fabulous nurse practitioners there, which you know. Yes, yeah, very fabulous. While we cannot do acute crises, if you have a concern, we will get you in. Like Tuesday through Thursday is when we're open. Walk in, come in, we'll figure it out, we'll get you plugged into the resources that you need. We also have a collaborative care model that we use, so we enroll patients in this, and what that does is it provides you counseling sessions with a certified counselor, and it gives you different kind of like modules that you can do to work on mindfulness and things like that. And then we have a psychiatrist that falls in the back, like for medication management. So that's what we're doing in Jeff County to try to help expand those resources.
That's awesome. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very excited about it. It's working wonderfully so far. Okay, any other audience questions?
I know they had talked, about being generational and how some of the ones will open up more. This is mainly for more Tim and Kelly that deal with older or all at different generations where most of you are younger. Baby boomers were taught you don't discuss it. You talk about the stigma. I've lost more of my classmates to suicide than I have to accident or health reasons. I'm in my 60s now, hopefully it'll start being health related. Yeah, I've lost more since graduating high school of my classmates to suicide. Because you don't talk about it. I mean, some of these were even early 20s. Nobody had the slightest clue because they wouldn't mention it. And we were taught that way. So when you deal with some of the older ones, baby boomer generation, you might have to dig to find out if there really is an issue there or what the issue is because they won't talk about it.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, baby boomers don't call it.
Right.
If they're gonna do it, they just do it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we find and that we can't help.
Or when we do get the calls for another reason, and they'll talk to us about their farm, because they need to talk to somebody. It won't be about the real issue they need, it'll be about the other issue. And like Kelly said, very rarely do we get the calls of, I need help now. So.
And most of the farmers are in that age, the average age of them, they're going to be in that age range anyway.
Well, they're calling that erratic driver, then you spend 30 minutes talking to them about everything else but the erratic driver when you make contact with them. So, yeah.
Why do you guys think many people wait until they're overwhelmed before asking for help?
I think they feel like they can just do it themselves. And it's a pride thing. They want to be able to handle it just like you want to be able to handle getting up and getting dressed and making breakfast and, being able to handle the everyday things. And so you feel internally that you can handle the big things too, and sometimes you just can't. So I think for sure it's a pride thing.
I feel like I'm a burden, and I don't want to put that on others.
I think some people minimize it also. They talk themselves out of it until it becomes so big, it's undeniable. And kind of to that point of being able to handle it themselves. It's not that big of a deal. I can manage it until they can't.
I think that even comes down to small things too, like people joke all the time about like being ADHD. Well, that is a concern, and people joke about it constantly, and like but, so they kind of diminish that, and then they realize like, yeah, like, oh man, I'm a late in life ADHD diagnosed person. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had that 10 years ago. Like that would have been awesome. You know, but like I didn't really know what it was. I was always busy. I was always going. So just realizing that it doesn't have to be the super severe things that you have boiling up in your body, but it can be even the smaller things too.
Well, and it's the BS, the brain science. You know, it builds up, it's like a ball of pop. You shake it a little bit, all right, you can open it. You shake it a lot of it, it's gonna explode, and that's how we are too sometimes. And it just builds up, it builds up, it builds up until your brain explodes, you flip your lid, all of those things. And I think that is when the arguments start with your spouse. That's when you argue with your kids, you know, call up somebody or do something online that you could maybe regret popping off of a keyboard warrior because your lid is popped with your brain, and it's like, all right, calm down. I mean, we're laughing about it, but I can, you know, I had a conversation with somebody and I kind of went off and I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm human too, right? We're all human, and just knowing that and having those people in your corner before it's too late.
I think you're surrounding yourself with the positive people too. If you feel like you're constantly blowing up and you're with the same people when that's happening, maybe those are not the people that you should be spending your time with. And I've noticed that in my adulthood, like just being able to pull away from certain people because they just don't make me feel like me, and I don't like who I am when I'm surrounded by them. So
Having that self-awareness and the read the room.
Yeah.
And know that it's okay not to be their friend. It's okay.
It's okay to take kids that too.
It's okay.
Sometimes friends come and grow.
Absolutely. And living in a small town, you feel like you have to be their friend because you're in the same class or the same grade. And then as you grow up, right, you grow up and you're like,
And your last name represents your family.
right, absolutely. It is. So no, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. But it's also okay to ask for help.
So what I see too is in the olden days, people went to Grange, they went to church, they went to Lions Club, they went to all these activities, and they'd sit around and play cards and do all this social activity. We don't do that now. We sit on our phone and are isolated.
maybe if you ever want to hang out and play cards, I'm all there.
I was gonna say, let's start a club. I'll try
It's been a
them.
long time.
Yeah, and you're right though, and like, that's what I love, like when I get together with my husband's family, like we'll sit at, we'll eat dinner, and then we play cards, and it's awesome. Like, yeah, somebody might check their phone every once in a while, like, oh, hey, look at that, you know, but we're playing cards, and I love that, and you're right, like, sometimes we get sucked in to Grange.
People at the church.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just see, I work with churches a lot, I see that there are more youth coming back to church now, and I think that's really good.
You brought up a great point, that intentional time. It sounds like there's some ideas flowing. So if it happens, can I come?
Yeah.
I want to come play.
I have lots of games. I don't want to play 4 games a week. This is what I would do.
See.
4 games per game. Anyway, any other community or audience? If not, any closing remarks? Oh,
How do you go about, like if you have a friend and they have mental health problems and you continue to pour into their cup constantly, and you will speak hours and speak life into them, and they will retain all of it but don't apply it, how do you go about, like, I feel guilty for wanting to walk away, because I feel like whatever I've said the last however many hours, months, you're not taking any of it. It's almost like they want to stay in this cycle instead of breaking out of it, which is where I think some people think that, like, at this point it's attention, because if you truly wanted to help yourself, you'd help yourself. So I just wanted to know, like, your guys' thoughts and opinions of how you go about having, like, a friend or a family member that does that. Kind of like the compassion fatigue almost, but it's just like, at what point is it like I
fantastic question and scenario.
It's boundaries. And some of it comes with maturity, some of it comes with experience. And it's just setting those boundaries against that person, sticking to your boundaries and offering a different resource. If you can't hold that, then I can't help you, but I'm willing to help you find someone who is. So let's look at therapists together. Let's call your insurance, put them on speakerphone, let's see if it's covered. Let's do whatever. So you can just be there for them physically, but maybe on an emotional, mental level, you just can't take all that all the time.
I have been in this situation before, so I've read a lot about it, trying to figure out how I can handle that. And the thing that ended up working best for me was just telling them, until you seek help, I cannot continue to entertain this continuous conversation with you. And it's hard, it sounds very harsh, but until you are ready to get the help, I can't keep pouring countless hours into you. Until you seek the help, I can't continue this conversation with you. And to this day, I still have not talked to that person because it was a choice that they made. And I have come to terms with that. And it was a dear friend that I'm no longer friends with, but that's okay because they weren't ready for that. And I hope they're doing very well in their life, but they're not part of mine anymore.
And I think too, depending on the ages, you can say, have you talked to your parents about this? Can I be with you when you talk to your parents? And being a friend in that way, also having your boundaries, but also saying, hey, let's get you some help because this is really beyond me. And having those hard conversations, and that does come with age. Sometimes the things that I say, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just said that. But getting brave and saying, I can hear you and I can listen, but then let's do this, and this.
And then too, you're in school and you have questions with your math homework, you're not going to your English teacher for math help. And I always kind of joked with my adult friends, I'm like, okay, so you can counsel me. I was like, I'm actually only certified pre-K 12 grade. But sometimes you can't help them. And so like Mallory was saying, getting them the resources to where somebody can help you. As much as I want to help you, I don't have the training in the adult counseling world, so it's hard to do that.
Can I jump in on that one real quick? Only because I've known you your whole life. And I think at the end of the day, in those situations, yes, you're trying to help them find their peace, but you have to protect your peace too.
I was just gonna say that self-care piece. Some people hear self-care and they roll their eyes. It's so much more than bubble bath and nails. You really, at the end of the day, you have got to take care of yourself because you're what you got. And so getting them conversations with the counselor or their parents or something else because you can't put a price on your peace.
You only get one you.
I think that's why it's so hard, is being so compassionate all the time and being a decent person to your core, you almost feel guilty for walking away. But at the end of the day, like you said, you have to protect your own peace before someone else's, no matter how it hurts either part of you.
And empathetic and compassionate people will attract those people your whole life. You're a healer. They follow it like a moth to a flame. So you really just have to learn your boundaries early on.
Sometimes when you do that for yourself, you're actually helping them so they get the right help.
Kind of reverse psychology. And maybe you should think about a career in mental health or law enforcement. It is that.
That's my daughter. Do you see a resemblance?
Not at all. Twins, yes, love it.
One of my daughters.
Yeah, I'm going to share kind of along those lines. I think that's a really good question. I work in domestic violence advocacy, so you can imagine there's a lot of times where we see people who are not safe and we want them to be safe. And what we tell people
Girl, I'm still learning them.
I'm going through it right now. I think it's a lifelong lesson, right?
Be honest with them about what you're capable of, and if you're able to find other resources for them, whether that's mental health, or domestic violence, or something financial, or insurance, I mean, that's something you can offer them, and it's not for nothing, but it really is, they have to have the agency to want to, or to be able to take that step, and it's really, really hard to watch someone you care about not be able to take that step, or not be willing to. I always kind of default to not be able to, because if they're not willing to, they're not able to, they're not mentally ready. Just like you never say, why don't you leave a domestic violence situation, or you should leave, we would never ever say that, because it has to come, we have to meet them where they are, and that's so true with mental health too. Meet somebody where they are, but we also have to be honest with ourselves, even as advocates, what our capacity is, and what our capabilities are. I'd say the three things that we do most in the advocacy world is community advocacy is connection to resources, emotional support, and safety planning. So you can do those things as a non-professional too. You just have to know what you know and know what you don't know, and know where to find information if you don't. And then this is the hardest part: if they don't or can't take those next steps, to find a way to let it go mentally, at least for the night or the day or the week. And that's really, really hard.
I like how you said that too. When I was a counselor, I went through, I'll say, a traumatic experience or something. It was really nice, like when my administration, like the next day, would like be like, "How are you today?" You know, I know yesterday was really scary or whatever. And so if you ever find yourself in that situation too, asking the person that helped the other person how they are too. Just like when a mom has a baby, it was like, "How's the baby?" Like, "How's mom?" Like when a mom is too. So ask the friend that helped the friend, "How are you doing?"
And I think being brave enough to say those things, and being brave enough to say, you know, I go to counseling. Great. Who do you go to? And have those conversations with your friends and classmates.
Right, but it's also, but I think it's also a process. Just thinking about the domestic violence world, which is what I know the best of any of this, is the average, I'm assuming it stayed the same, the average time somebody leaves a domestic abuse situation is 7, which means they went back to their abuser 6 times on average. Somebody's pulling that average. Somebody went back 10, 12, 15 times, and so it's a process, and so you can't, so it's like when you go back the 5th time or the 10th time or whatever, and they come to you for help again, it's like, well, why did you know, don't shame them and they went back, because it's part of the process, and then hopefully, you know, hopefully we'll get to that last time it would leave and stay gone.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Like you say that, and, you know, in the situation I was telling you, like I was given the resources, doing the things, and they weren't doing anything. So it was a broken record. But yeah, in the situation, if somebody's coming to me, they got help and they went back, like I'm gonna be supportive of them all the time because they're trying.
Right.
And I think you're right. It is a process.
But there's a fail, you know, and the same thing could be said for somebody that stays sober for, you know, I mean, eventually you get to the point where it's just like, I'm gonna, you know, I have to set a boundary with my alcoholic friend. They may stay sober for 3 months and then go back, and
We've all failed at some point.
yeah.
It's a great point. I know everyone tried to keep this to hour to respect everybody's time. Any other closing remarks?
Thank you for doing this. This is a great conversation.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, well, thank you everybody